Hello, my loves, and welcome to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Ruby. Today, we are going to be diving deep into one of my favorite subjects, which is the Christian Pantheon. This video was inspired by one of my mentees. In our last session, they asked me to define the differences between Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene. And as I was kind of unfolding the answer to this question, it was really impressed upon my spirit that often if we're working with one energy in the Christian Pantheon, we have access to a multitude of energies that are found within this wisdom stream. So to give you a little bit of context into who I am and why I see the Christian Pantheon the way that I do, I am a Magdalene priestess. I grew up within the confines of a very dogmatic, authoritarian, Pentecostal, evangelical sect of Christianity. I was a pastor's daughter. I lived in that world until I was about 19, 20. I even did a year of Bible school. So I am a seminary dropout. And I really thought I was going to leave behind that world forever. I found it very oppressive as a natural psychic and someone that had a lot of spiritual gifts. I experienced that world as very, very dark and oppressive to my being. So when I left that religion around 19, 20, I was not interested in going back, and I had a lot of negative just ideas and perspectives around Christianity. And then as I moved throughout the world, I kept stumbling back into spirituality because it was my path, and so I couldn't ignore it. So throughout my 20s, I explored shamanic tradition. I explored various Eastern wisdom streams. I became a yoga teacher through a framework of yoga that was very focused on the practices of bhakti and tantra, which I really have enfolded into how I see Christianity now. And I also explored, witchcraft and paganism. So I gained all of this knowledge around other spiritual traditions. And then in early 2020, I had this deep mystical revelation around Mary Magdalene. And quickly this shifted every paradigm within my being. It shifted my whole life trajectory. And now I primarily, as I've already shared, really see myself first and foremost. I'm a psychic and astrologer, as my trade, as my career, but I primarily see myself and orient myself as a Magdalene priestess. Now, having all of these experiences, learning all of these other spiritual traditions and dipping my toe into other wisdom streams really showed me how Christianity is encoded within a mystery tradition, and how Christianity is in its deepest form, in its most esoteric form, a tantric science. And so I work with Christianity in a very tantric way. You could say that I am a Christian tantrika, or that I practice a form of divine feminine Christianity. And I work with energies, deities from pantheons that are outside of the realm of Christianity, but I work very closely with what I am calling the Christian Pantheon. And so I'm going to kind of lay out all of the energies and deities that I feel exist within this Christian pantheon. I'm going to tell you the ones that I work with the most, that I have most experience with when it comes to direct revelation. And then we'll, kind of talk about how we could even expand this pantheon further. But what is going to surprise you when I talk about this pantheon is that it is mostly feminine, which is going to maybe be a shock to your system if you are only familiar with dogmatic, organized, patriarchal religion. But in my form of Christianity, we worship the goddess, or we orient ourselves towards the divine as a being that really transcends gender, but is in her most deepest essence feminine, because it is the feminine principle that gives life, right? We, even in our human incarnation, are birthed by the feminine. And so the divine contains both feminine and masculine principles, but at its deepest essence, we revere the divine as creator, which is a feminine principle. So I'm just going to dive right in. I'm very influenced by Gnostic thought and Gnosticism, but I would say I'm more a Tantrika than I am a Gnostic in terms of some of the just framework in which I'm going to be laying this out. And I do feel that when Gnosticism is taken literally, it can become a little dualistic. Now, dualism is a doorway that we enter into to understand non-duality. So both duality and non-duality exist, right? Just think of a non-duality as what is kind of being wrapped around our experience of duality. So Gnosticism isn't always meant to be taken literally. Gnosticism is a portal for inner revelation. So I am Gnostic in the sense that a huge component of my spiritual practice is the experience of gnosis, of turning inward and finding direct revelation, revelatory wisdom. So, the Pantheon, let's talk about it. First and foremost, Sophia, right? Sophia is the cosmic goddess. Sophia is creator. In Gnostic mythology, the Old Testament God is called the Demiurge. So, and I really resonate with this aspect of Gnosticism. So the Old Testament God is not included in this pantheon. I see the Old Testament God as a distortion and as the Demiurge. So in Gnostic mythology, Sophia is the goddess, the creator, who creates the Demiurge, who is in a sense this false god who believes he is the true God that governs what becomes this very patriarchal, hierarchical, false truth that we see in the Bible. Now, I would say we could go a lot deeper into the nuance of this, but for this video, we're not. For this video, we're just going to say that the creator goddess in the Christian pantheon is Sophia. And Sophia is really contained in all of the other deities and energies that we are going to be talking about. So, Sophia is the cosmic goddess. She is wisdom. She is the creator, all right? Now, I personally see Sophia and Isis, a set from the Egyptian pantheon, as the same energy. And so I have a big tattoo of Isis on my thigh. I worship Isis as a face of Sophia. I don't have a separate altar in my home for Isis because she lives on my altar for Christ consciousness. She sits there with Yeshua, with Mother Mary, with Mary Magdalene, with the Black Madonna, because this is my personal gnosis that I received. Because Mary Magdalene is my patron goddess, Isis is also my patron goddess, because Mary Magdalene is a priestess of Isis because she is a priestess of Sophia. So that does not have to be your truth. Only take that truth for you if it is your direct revelation. But I personally work with Isis as Sophia and with Sophia as Isis, all right? So from there, we move on to the next two deities that I will kind of bring into focus, which are Yeshua and Mary Magdalene. So in my lineage of Christianity, which is my own I'm the top of the lineage, really. I have a lot of other voices that I have used to influence this train of thought. So this doesn't just come from me, but I've never had another teacher or creator lay it out the way that I'm laying out for you, because a lot of this is direct revelation that I received. So then we have Yeshua and Mary Magdalene, all right? Yeshua, the divine masculine principle, Mary Magdalene, the divine feminine principle that came into incarnation at one point. So they are avatars in the sense that they are divine energies that came into human form. Now, Yeshua, as we see him in my lineage of Christianity, is the son of a goddess, right? Because if we see Mother Mary as this priestess energy, as this embodiment of Sophia consciousness, her birthing Yeshua into form is this metaphor around how all of us as Christed ones are birthed by the divine feminine principle. We are all sons and daughters of Sophia. So the Trinity in my Christian lineage is not Father, Son, Holy Ghost. And again, my Christian lineage in the sense that all of this has been revealed to me in direct revelation through sitting with these energies. My personal pantheon is, and the Trinity within my pantheon, I mean to say, is Mother, Son, Daughter. All right. So we have Sophia / Mother Mary, and then we have Yeshua, the son of the goddess, and Mary Magdalene, the daughter of the goddess. All right. So Yeshua and Mary Magdalene represent Shiva and Shakti. They represent divine union. They represent the divine masculine principle and the divine feminine principle embodied and merging. So we are very familiar with Yeshua. He is probably the energy in this pantheon that we have the most understanding of, that we have the most text, right? Sacred text that we can kind of base our knowing around him. Though this knowing has been very distorted by organized patriarchal dogmatic religion. So we have Sophia, we have Mary Magdalene, we have Yeshua the Christ, and then we have Mother Mary, the Mother of God. Now here is where these energies tend to merge and overlap, because Mother Mary, sometimes we can see her as a facet of Sophia, as an embodiment of Sophia. If Sophia is the divine cosmic goddess, right, then Mother Mary is almost this priestess energy in herself, even though we usually relegate the role of sacred priestess to Mary Magdalene. Mother Mary becomes really the earth goddess component of Sophia, cosmic goddess, or she's the bridge, the mediator between, Sophia and the earthen plane. And so when it comes to the differences around Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene, I feel these energies as very different. But sometimes these energies do tend to merge. Now, when I was initiated into a lineage of Tantra, my guru, when he was doing the initiation and I was receiving it, we were doing the initiation with the understanding that Yeshua and Mary Magdalene are my Ishtadavatas. They were my chosen deities. Okay. When he was really initiating me, he said something very profound, which was that, we were calling in Yeshua, and then we were calling in Mary as the energy that was both wife and mother. So Yeshua, and then we have the energy of Mary, both wife and mother. Okay. This is also a very powerful transmission and uncoding, right? Because if we see Yeshua as the Christed one, as the template that we are meant to follow, then we are both, right, the sons and daughters of God and the consorts of God, right? Meaning that this is energy that we come from, right? This energy is our origin point, and this energy is also our beloved that we are meant to merge with, okay? I am being so brief in how I kind of unfold this for you. We can go deeper into each specific energy in this pantheon if the desire is there, because I am giving you so much wisdom and so much knowledge, and we are barely skimming the surface of this, all right? So within the energy of Sophia and Mother Mary, we have also the Black Madonna. The Black Madonna is the dark face of the Divine Mother energy. So we have Mother Mary in her light form, Mother Mary, the Queen of Heaven, the Mother of God, and then we have the Black Madonna, okay? So we can also see Mother Mary as a triple goddess. We can see her in triplicity, and we can orient this triplicity in a myriad of ways. We can see this triplicity as Sophia, Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene. We can see this triplicity as Sophia, Mother Mary, the Black Madonna. We can also see this triplicity as Sophia, Mother Mary, and the Shekinah. Because this brings us to the next energy in this pantheon, which is the Shekinah, or the Holy Spirit. So the Shekinah is the felt presence of God, okay? While Mother Mary and Sophia are these energies that we can make contact with, the Shekinah is the felt presence of God that really runs in our veins, that we can call in and access as a felt presence, right? Now, I see the Shekinah and the energy of Shakti and Kundalini as all of the same things. So this is where my knowledge as a tantric initiate very much aligns with Christianity. And I'm not the only person who has drawn these conclusions or seen these parallels. I have all of these books on my bookshelf that pretty much say the same thing. And if you're interested in learning about Tantra Christianity, there are some book recommendations that I can give you in a future video. But I will say this. By exploring the true teachings of Tantra, we're not talking about Neo-Tantra here. That's a bunch of garbage, watered down garbage. If we're talking about the true teachings of Tantra, you will see that your experience around the type of Christianity that I'm unfolding for you begins to really click in and make sense. Okay? So, Sophia, the cosmic principle of creation, Mother Mary, really the embodiment of this creation, right? A form of this creation. And then the Shekinah, which is the felt presence, the energy of this creation, all right? We can see the tantric principles of Shiva and Shakti paralleled in what we might call a Gnostic tantric Christian interpretation of Shiva and Shakti energies, which would be the Pleroma and the Shekinah. All right, and we'll talk about the Pleroma in a little bit, okay? So, after the Black Madonna and the Shekinah, some other deities or energies, divine fields of intelligence and consciousness that you will make contact with on this path are Sarah Lakali. Now, who is Sarah Lakali? I'm actually wearing her right now on my necklace. And shout out to Mary Headland. Portland Mary is the name of her Etsy shop, who creates these beautiful pieces. I also have her Mary Magdalene statue like watching over me as I share this wisdom with you. Sarah Lakali is a saint, really the patron saint of the Romani people. And her origin story lies in France. And she was a being, a figure that really belongs to Mary Magdalene leaving, Israel, Jerusalem at, Jesus' crucifixion and ascension. After Jesus' crucifixion and ascension, Mary Magdalene went to France, and there's some dispute on who Sarah Lakali is in this story. Some say that she was an Egyptian handmaiden, a disciple of Mary Magdalene that made the travel with her to France. Some say that she was a Romani priestess who met Mary Magdalene on the shores of France and, really assisted Mary Magdalene in acclimating to France. And some say, and this is probably the most popular theory, that Sarah Lakali is the daughter of Yeshua and Mary Magdalene. So there's a few different origin points to who Sarah Lakali is. But Sarah Lakali is, if we say that Mother Mary is the embodiment of Sophia, we might say that Sarah Lakali is the embodiment of the Black Madonna. Right? She is the patron saint of outcasts. She is a protector goddess. That is why I wear her, because her energy is very protective. And what's very interesting is that Sarah Lakali has ties to both Isis and also to Kali, because the Romani people made their way into Europe from India. Okay. And so there is actually a very clear thread, if you are following the red thread, from the goddess Kali, which we can also say is the Black Madonna. Kali is the Black Madonna, okay? To Sarah Lakali, which is fascinating. So I work with Sarah Lakali not only as a protector goddess, but as a face of the dark feminine and as a face of the goddess Kali Ma. So my work within Eastern Tantra and my work within Christian Tantra really melds and merges together quite nicely, okay? Now, from, kind of this divine feminine deity sphere that we are beginning to build, right? There are some other energies that we can kind of throw in the mix as we see fit. So all of the energies that I just shared with you, okay, we have Sophia, we have Mother Mary, we have Yeshua, we have Mary Magdalene, we have the Shekinah, we have Sarah Kali. This is the pillar, in my opinion. If we bring in the pleroma. Now, what is the pleroma? The pleroma is the fullness of God. The pleroma is God and the divine without form or face. It is the ground of our being. It is the fullness. Now, you might be saying, where is the divine masculine in this? There's all of these feminine energies, and then the only more masculine energy is Yeshua, is Jesus Christ. I see the pleroma as male. So just like there is Shiva and Shakti, and I already stated this, I'm just restating it because sometimes it takes a couple times of me saying something for it to click in and stick, right? Just like there is Shiva and Shakti, there is the pleroma and there is the Shekinah, right? So Shiva is consciousness, right? The divine masculine is more of this rooted presence, the ground of our being, the fullness of our being. It is the container. Whereas Shakti, or the Shekinah, is the energy that courses through our veins. It is the energetic transmission. It is the presence. And once you fully understand these energies, they're not so separate, right? It's Shiva Shakti. It's pleroma Shekinah. Okay. So this to me is the core pillar of the Christian pantheon. And now we can really branch out and expand as we see fit, all right? So some other energies you might want to include in this Christian pantheon, Lilith, right? Lilith is also very predominant in Sumerian mythology, but Lilith within the Christian pantheon really being the first wife of Adam, really being this energy of the dark feminine that is all about equality and power and owning our desire nature. And then we have Lucifer. Lucifer within our tradition, we do not see as a negative energy. We see Lucifer as the energy of the questioning God. We see Lucifer as the energy that questions demiurgic oppression, right? So if the Old Testament God is the demiurge, this energy of oppression, this binary intelligence that leads to enslavement and colonization and patriarchy and oppression and materialism, then Lucifer is the aspect of our consciousness that questions these things, that questions the status quo, okay? Now, Lucifer is also associated with the planet Venus. So we can also see Lucifer as the divine feminine intelligence that was outcast and demonized by patriarchy. One of my most controversial social media posts on TikTok and Instagram is where I'm talking about how Jesus and Lucifer are the same archetypal force, and they are. But when I say same archetypal force, I'm not saying same deity, right? You could say the Black Madonna and Sarah Kali are the same archetypal force, but there's differences present, okay? We have to hold these ideas with nuance, okay? But what do we see Jesus do in the New Testament, right? He questions political authority. He questions religious authority. He hangs out with tax collectors and prostitutes. He is Lucifer in the sense that he is saying, you know, all of these rigid rules, all of these religious norms, all of this political and religious oppression, I'm really throwing a middle finger to, and I'm showing the way, another way. And it's a way of owning your spiritual power, of knowing your spiritual connection. So we see Lucifer in my Christian lineage as the archetype of the questioning God, as a light bringer, as an illuminator. Now, it is a trickier energy because if you are working with Lucifer in a direct revelatory way where you are doing a dedicated practice to Lucifer, what's going to happen? All your shadow work is going to be revealed, all the dark crevices in your subconscious that you don't want to go to because it's going to open the floodgates of what you've been suppressing, what you've been avoiding, what you've been ignoring. All of that's going to come out with Lucifer energy. And Lucifer energy, similar to Lilith energy, but kind of in a different way, because Lilith is all about being in the body and being in your sexuality and being empowered in this form, whereas Lucifer is really about spiritual freedom and spiritual sovereignty. Okay, so these are more shadow energies that we work with, Lilith and Lucifer, not because they are evil, but because they lead us into what can be very difficult growth work. Okay, really all of these energies do that. Okay, now some more energies that we can kind of add to the pantheon. Shera, who was seen as the wife of Yahweh, as the consort of Yahweh. If you require more of a father deity, you can also work with El. El is the patriarchal god that predated Yahweh. So if you are looking for, a patriarchal, more father god that isn't demiurgic, you can also work with El. I do not work with El. I'm very content to have a predominantly feminine pantheon, and Yeshua really is the crux on which all of this hinges, right? So Yeshua really being the strong, divine, masculine presence within this lineage. Okay. And then also you can bring in Metatron and the archangels. And this also brings in more of a neutral to more masculine, depending on how you see the angels. I see some angels as more masculine. I see more angels as feminine, right? I see the energy of Michael and Raphael as masculine. I see the energy of Gabriel and Uriel as feminine. I see Metatron as masculine. I see Sandalphon as feminine. This is just my personal gnosis and my experience of working with these energies, which I've worked with quite extensively because I do the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. My mind went faster than my mouth for a minute. Very frequently in my practice, I'm calling in these angelic presences, mostly daily. Occasionally life gets to me. I miss a few days, or I go on vacation and I miss a week or so, but it's a regular if not daily part of my spiritual practice. So you can bring in Metatron, you can bring in the angels, and you can also bring in any saints that feel applicable, right? So the saints of Catholicism really being these mystics and these yogis and yoginis, really, of Christian mysticism. So if you come across a saint, you can bring them into this pantheon as well, okay? Now I want to talk a little more about Mary Magdalene in this Pantheon because Mary Magdalene is my patron deity. She is the main energy that I'm working with, and she really is who opened up the door for me to experience and understand all these other energies. So we're going to talk about Mary Magdalene, and I think we'll end it there because I just gave you a ton of information, okay? Mary Magdalene is a really special goddess because she holds both light and shadow. So similarly to, say, Isis or Persephone, she is a resurrection goddess. So she contains both. Now, in oral Sophianic Gnostic tradition, Mary Magdalene is seen as the unification of Eve and Lilith. So you can also bring in Adam and Eve if you want to. I do not. I do not work with those energies. And so Mary Magdalene really being the unification of the light and dark feminine principle, okay? Mary Magdalene is a keeper of mysteries. Mary Magdalene is a priestess. Mary Magdalene, similar to Mother Mary, is also a bridge between the spiritual realm and the earthly realm. So both of them are priestess energies, okay? Mary Magdalene rules over union. She rules over the path of inner alchemy and inner transformation. She also is a protector for those that are in spiritual service because, you know, her life was a life of spiritual service. I feel that she really comes through for me when I'm doing even energy healing with clients, which isn't something that I offer virtually. It's something that I offer on a case-by-case basis in person. And she really is the custodian and conduit of inner gnosis. Yeshua gave her all of the secret inner teachings around gnosis, okay? Mary Magdalene also is the energy that I work with in my practice of what you could call witchcraft. Mary Magdalene has shown me that she had a very deep knowledge of sacred herbs, and she feels very connected to the elements. So I work with her in a path that I have deemed the path of the Magdalene witch. Okay. And Mary Magdalene, as the consort of Christ, is a very tantric presence, okay? I see Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary as priestesses of Isis and priestesses of Sophia, okay? Mother Mary in her color palette feels blue to me. Mary Magdalene feels red. Her traditional colors feel red and green, though another presence has come in for me that I have titled the Pink Magdalene. And she sits on my Aphrodite altar. So the more you work with these energies, the deeper your felt experience of them will be. And the more you will understand kind of what these specific deities, what they rule over, what they reside over, what they come to teach you, and how these energies tend to kind of cross-pollinate and merge and dance with each other. Usually for my clients, either Mary Magdalene will come in, or Mother Mary will come in, or Yeshua will come in. These are kind of the three predominant energies that will come in if someone is being called to a path of esoteric, non-dogmatic, divine feminine Christianity, okay? Not always, but that's usually how I have found it to be in my work as someone that really leads people into these energies. So usually that's who will kind of emerge. And then the more you work with that energy, the more other energies will come in. All right. Now, usually the energies that I work with outside of the Christian pantheon, when they come in, will kind of tell me how they are related, kind of why they're coming in. So, for example, I work very closely with Hecate at times. And Hecate has shown me that she is a face of the Black Madonna, or that is how I work with her. You don't have to work with her that way or see her that way, but that's how she has come in for me. And so all of the energies that I work with outside of the Christian pantheon kind of explain to me why they are complementary and how they want to work alongside the pantheon. So for example, Aphrodite. Aphrodite is Venus. The planet Venus is very connected to this path, all right? This path is also connected to what you might call the rose lineage, though a lot of the information you're going to find about the rose lineage is modern and somebody's unverified personal gnosis. What I'm describing to you is you could say this is my unverified personal gnosis through years of experience and being led to a lot of book knowledge and wisdom that has really sealed these understandings in. So we can do book recommendation if you want. I think I have some book recommendations. I do have some book recommendation videos on my TikTok. My Instagram handle there is Cosmic Taurus Fairy. And also, I believe there's a link in my bio for my Amazon list. And there's going to be a ton of books there for you too. So all of that is available for you if you are interested in what I say, but you lean a little more skeptical and you want to verify it for yourself. I have easy for you to find a lot of the sources where this information has been echoed to me, because I'm also very skeptical and I'm not going to just believe something because it drops into my system during meditation. I'm going to thank that insight for coming in and hold it with a very open hand, and then ask for it to be verified and validated for me as many ways as possible until I can kind of absorb it in as my personal truth. Okay. So I hope that this was interesting and helpful for you. We really dived into a lot of deep esoteric wisdom, and we skimmed the surface. And so if there is more information you want about any of these deities or any of the topics I laid out, please leave it in the comments. I'm feeling more guided by spirit to be sharing more of this type of content on YouTube, right? Usually if we're like talking about spiritual products and incense and stuff, it's because I'm a little burnt out and under-resourced, and that's what I have the capacity to talk about on top of the burden of my everyday readings, because predominantly my work is my one-on-one readings. But I've been guided to shift my offerings and kind of be a little more leaner in the times I'm available for one-on-one work, and so I can give this other work that is not nearly as economically advantageous at this point, some of my energy. And so I'm spirit-led, spirit pays my bills, that's totally fine. But I'm guessing that there are some people that are searching for this information and it could benefit them, and they're being called to this path if I'm being really nudged to take my content more in this direction. Okay. So as always, it was lovely to hang out with you today. I am wishing you well and sending you love, and I will see you soon.